Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Open eCry market commentary for the week of September 17th. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and we'll just be talking through the upcoming week here and what may be happening in the markets like the U.S. indices, some commodities, and foreign currencies. And looking at the ES futures, as we normally do, starting off with the U.S. equities markets. Looking at the monthly chart, we can very quickly see about 4 or 5 months ago we had that pullback, which is a 50% retracement of this move, and then we basically got a nice setup candle there in the buy zone, and then for the last 4 months we just took off straight higher with higher highs, higher lows, and no different this month in the month of September. We still have another week or so left in the month, but still broke out to a new high above that 1424 level, I believe was the latest high, and now we're back up to, let's see, the last high that we made was right at this level at 1468. So the most recent high, if you recall, back in quite a ways back in the middle of 2007, 2008, we had a high there of right around that 1530 level. So we're really only about 60 points away from that on the S&P futures. So it looks like we're going to be moving right back up into that level before we find some resistance, and that'll put us right back into the channel and the trend going higher. As we move down to the weekly charts, we can see just a nice series here of very smallish, bullish candles, consistent buying pressure, a number of nice bullish candles setting up here in the buy zone a couple of months ago, and then we just took off to the upside and put in some of those most recent highs. As we move down to the daily chart, we can see a couple of, about 2 weeks ago, we got that nice consolidation here, and then we were looking for that multi-day run, even after that one large run up in that one day. We got just a very minor pullback into that 1420, 1460 level, and then took off again up to that most recent high of around 1470. So again, we're getting a little overextension here from moving averages. We've had about a 7 or 8 day run since this most recent pullback. So we probably want to be anticipating some kind of a pullback here. Not sure if it's going to be a deeper pullback or if it's just going to be a pullback that's going to be fairly shallow, like to the 10-period moving average. But what we can do is then look at some of the lower time frames, like the 480, the 240, the 120, to start to look for some of those trend flow, those momentum breakout setups as price begins to pull back. I have a little bit of a bearish candle here and some overextension on the 480 chart. So would anticipate either some kind of a consolidation here or a pullback into possibly this level right around that 1435 level. Have some good price action support right there, and that would get us then right back into the 10 and 20 period moving average, which would be the buy zone. And then we can start to look for a trend flow setup candle to get long. So keep in mind that when we're looking for these setups, we're not just looking for one thing. I mean, we're looking for an optimal chart setup across multiple time frames. We're looking for a complete pullback structure back into the buy zone, which is in and amongst the 10 and 20 period moving averages. We're looking for a setup candle to define our risk. So we're looking for layer upon layer of reason and logic to take us into a trade. We're not just looking to jump into the markets just because we feel bullish about where the markets are going. So we always want to be looking at our risk first and then looking at potentially our reward second. So that's right now what the U.S. equities markets look like from a large cap perspective. And then looking at the small cap index, the Russell 2000, gives us a little different layout here on the monthly chart. We can see we've got our third touch coming right up here into that 860 level, and we just put in just very slightly a new high there right at 1860, right at 865, and that was just slightly higher than where we were before at right around 857. Yeah, 857 was a previous high. So kind of broke through that. Normally what we'd like to see is a break through that and then a pullback right back down into that 858 level and then a look to move higher. But right now it looks like we might be setting up a flat level there. This is the third touch. So we could get some pullbacks, potentially back down into this 778 level. We could get a consolidation of some small candles along there and then a move higher. But again, this is the monthly chart, so much higher time frame. We can move down to the weekly charts, get a little bit more granular on where the markets may be heading. But as you can see, got a little bit overextension from the moving averages on the weekly chart. But again, everything is very nicely aligned. We've got a lot of bullish candles there moving to the upside. And then as we get down into the daily chart, you can really see this most recent trend from all the way back in the early month of August. and we really just took off to the races there. And so again, we have a little bit of overextension here from the moving averages on the daily chart, but I mean, the chart just looks great. I mean, all the moving averages are in alignment. We've got the 200, the 50, the 20, and the 10 period. Everything moving up. A little bit of overextension there, but it looks like on the 480 we're going to get a pullback here right back into those moving averages, potentially with a support level right around that 845, 843 level. So keep an eye out on that on the 480 chart and lower, the 240 and the 120. You can start to look for some signals there on the trend flow setup, or look for some momentum breakout flat levels if we end up getting a consolidation at that level. And then again, we're only trading those in the direction of the trend, which for right now is long based on what the chart structure is telling us. So everything looking really good, very bullish here on the Russell. So keep an eye out for some of those trade setups, and stay in touch with some of the lower time frames to define your entry and your risk for those trade setups. And just taking a look here at the pound yen, this looks like a nice pairing here for kind of a reversal here and a move going long. We can see just by looking at the monthly chart, we've had this level that's been support here for quite a while, right around that. Right around that 117 level, and as you can see, price has flattened out right there, and we've got some breaks higher on the moving averages, telling us there's a little bit of divergence on the monthly chart. That can be a pretty powerful thing. If we move down and look at the weekly chart, we've got that same level at 117. We talked about this way back when, where we had that nice divergence setup right there and got that nice move up around that 133 level. Just got another pullback, and we just put in basically a higher low right there around 118, 119, and now we've got another higher low in place, higher high, and a higher high here. So we've really just confirmed with the break of that 125.7 level a move higher that might be continuing back up to that, at least that 133 level. So I'd like to take advantage of that. Looking down here at some of the smaller time frames, just got a break above now that 126 level. We're pretty far extended away from the moving averages, so really just looking to trade this trend long, but looking for a pullback back into the moving averages, maybe on the daily chart, or even something on the 480 or the 240 or the 120, and then looking for that pullback structure, that trend flow setup with a candle in the buy zone amongst the 10 and 20 period moving average, and sticking with the this trend going long. So the pound yen's looking pretty good, just not right now. We're got some extension this, so we're waiting for a pullback. I'm just going to jumping into the market right here at 128, but wait for the actual trade setup. We're looking for multiple reasons on multiple time frames, and so go through your checklists that we've been talking through on the advanced course, and then look for the trade setup if there are any bonus factors, things like that, can help you get a more solid entry in a more lower risk level and a better reward to risk overall. So a good looking chart there on the pound yen. Just need to wait for the appropriate setup. And then the last foreign currency pairing we'll be looking at here is going to be the euro yen. So a lot of good setups here on some of the yen pairings. But looking at the monthly chart, series of lower highs, lower lows, but we're starting to get some divergence here, as you can see on both the time frames over quite an extended period of time here. This is almost over the last 6 to 9 months. It's caused these candle formations, pattern formation here on the monthly chart. And as we go down to the weekly chart, again we had a series of lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and finally we got a lower low in place. And we're starting to get some divergence here on that most recent bottom on the weekly chart, which can be pretty powerful. And so we just put in we went from a lower low to a higher high, and so as we move down to the daily chart, we can see the extension away from the moving averages. We've got the 50, the 20, and the 10 period moving average in alignment, and so they're starting to turn back to the upside. We can see all these smallish candles from that lower low down here at 94, higher highs, higher lows, all the way back up into this 104 level. So things looking very good on the daily chart. Looking like a reversal pattern setting up here on the weekly chart. And as we move down to the 480, we can see we've got some extension away. Depending on how this candle closes out today, we might have a bearish candle there, which would be good because we're looking for that pullback right into the buy zone. And then we have a nice level right there around that 100 level that we can start looking for. So a good looking trend here on some of the intermediate time frames, the daily and lower, going down to the 480, the 240, and the 120 is where you want to be looking for your setups. So look for that pullback structure in the trend flow. Also look for flat levels setting up, and we're trading this in the direction of the trend, going with all the moving averages in alignment. This is just a perfect setup right here, which could be pretty early on in the trend. So there might be a nice ride out of this one. Okay, so take a look at the euro yen and see what you think about that, and see if you can find some of those trade setups that might be setting up here later in the week. So that'll be a wrap up for the markets this week on the Open eCry market commentary. We'd like to thank you for watching, and we do look forward to speaking to you next week on the market update.